Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. This is the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. And I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. See what else coming at you. And today we got a special guest in the house, the director of football operations at Alabama State, Mr. Terry Sims. We're gonna get him on in a second. Y'all make sure y'all hit those socials: Facebook, SWAC Talk, Instagram, SWAC Talk, Twitter, SWAC Talk 76. We really close to that 1K, man. We're about 10 or 11 away. So if y'all can hit that subscribe button, that'd be great. Hit that join button to become a member. Like the video, share it, and feel free to comment. So we're not gonna waste any more time, man. We're gonna get this gentleman in here, Coach Terry Sims. How you doing, Coach Sims? Good to have you on the show.
I'm great, man. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, no problem, man. First off, I got to thank DJ for putting this together because he said he might be able to wrangle you up. So I definitely appreciate that y'all being able to make this happen for me.
No doubt, man. Always glad to be on and talk about football, talk about my journey. Anything I can do to help the next man out, I'm good with it.
I definitely appreciate it. So like I said, we're just gonna kind of talk a little bit. I'm not gonna hold you too long. I know you're a busy man, so I definitely appreciate your time. But let's start at the beginning of your coaching journey. Did you ever see yourself being a coach when you were younger? Was that something that you thought you may want to do?
No, I don't. I think I had the same dreams as every young athlete. I was a baseball and football player growing up, and I either wanted to play Major League Baseball or NFL football. I mean, that's the thing I think that all youngsters think about, and had the opportunity to go to college and play and extend my career. But I think the most important thing that I did was take advantage of my education while I was in school. And, I was able to finish school. And after a knee injury, I wasn't, able to continue on playing. Nobody picked me up. So I wanted to stay close to the game. And, staying close to the game meant, picking a career in football. And I was always sharp as a player. So I figured, I could go on. And one of my coaches told me, he said, well, you need to try coaching. And I did that for a semester, trying it out. And, it fit. I was good at it. I was, I was a people person, still am. And I think that's what has led to a lot of success for me in this profession.
So basically with you kind of happening into it, was there any kind of growing pains into becoming a coach from moving from a player to the coaching side?
Oh yeah, a whole lot of them. And it's changing now with the student assistants and grad assistants. Those jobs are by no means glorious today, but back when I was doing it, it was real grunt work, and it went anywhere from actually learning football from the coaches, but babysitting, washing cars, grocery shopping, cutting grass, you name it. We had to do it. But all the coaches that taught me this game, they used to always say everything you do leading up, to your first full-time job, it just helps build character. And it did. I had a lot of great men in my life, teaching me the game, not only on the field, but just teaching me how to be a professional in the office, in the community, just showing me how to go about being a football coach.
So being, when you first get started as a younger coach, you're kind of on the move, you're bouncing job to job. How tough is it to kind of find a little bit of stability, not knowing, how long you're going to be in one place? Was that something difficult for you?
No, I was always a traveler. Loved to travel when I was young. My parents used to always take us on these little mini vacations. It wasn't very far, but I love going new places. So being a coach, it really didn't startle me or take me by surprise, or it wasn't growing pains with me having to move around a lot. It really just I had opportunity to see a lot of different places. One thing I talked with my mom about a few years back before she passed was I have had the luxury of being going to every state in the United States. And I did that through football, through recruiting, through conferences, just going places to speak. I've had an opportunity to go a lot of different places and meet a lot of interesting people.
So I didn't notice. I didn't notice until I started doing a little bit of research. I didn't know you had some previous time in the SWAC before Bethune-Cookman moved over. You coached at TSU and PV. How was it coaching at those two schools?
Loved it. Love Houston. Houston's a great city. Both my kids were born in Houston, so we definitely have ties there in the city. Still have a lot of friends there in the city and at both universities. So it was great. Had a great time working. He's no longer with us, but working for Bill Thomas at Texas Southern. He was a guy who has been and was at that time very instrumental in my career. Taught me the game, taught me the ins and outs of scholarships at this level, just running a football program. And he was one of the best at it. So I think I learned from one of the best. And then working for Henry Frazier over at Prairie View, another guy who let all of his coaches he let us cut our teeth. He told us day one, I hired you to do a job. If I have to do your job, I don't need you. So had a great time in Houston. We'll never have anything bad to say about the city or either one of those universities.
Yeah, I think like you said, being able to come up under those coaches and Coach Frazier basically turned around that Prairie View program. The next couple of years, you kind of left right before they started to turn things really in the positive direction. I see you spent a couple of years at ULL. Was that like a planned move, or was that like something that you kind of just bounced to?
Well, I tell you, this profession, it's very funny. I GA'd at the University of Louisville, and our receivers coach, Tony Ball, he was actually, at that time, he was the receivers coach at Virginia Tech with Ricky Bussell. And Ricky Bussell had gotten the head job at Louisiana Lafayette. They had a corner's job come open, and he needed someone that could recruit Houston. I was already living in the city. He wanted a young coach. And at that time, I was a young coach, and my name was out there pretty good. So I drove to Lafayette, interviewed for the job. It wasn't because I was okay. At Prairie View, Frazier was treating me great. Wasn't looking to move. It just happened, and that's his business. When the phone rings, you answer it. If it's a good opportunity for the coach himself and for your family, you got to go do it. You got to go do it because you don't know when those windows will close.
So basically, I just want to continue down your timeline. From ULL, you went to Howard for a couple years. Did you that was I guess you had been a defensive back coach and a running back coach before that, special teams as well. Was there either side of the ball you really enjoyed coaching, or did it not really matter?
Well, I mean, obviously, just like everybody else, I played both sides of the ball in high school, but in college, I was a defensive player, so I was definitely more comfortable starting out in my career because I was on defense. But I learned when I was at the University of Louisville, a football coach is a football coach. You're a teacher. And that's how I ended up taking the running back job at Austin Peay because I went. They didn't have a defensive job open. They had a running backs job open. I interviewed for a defensive back job. The head coach at that time, Bill Smits, he said, listen, I'm watching you teach. and he offered me the running back job, and I took it because I figured, you can coach DBs, coach linebackers, you coach special teams, you can coach running backs, and I had a offensive line coach that worked with me, Nick Calcutta. He taught me the ins and outs of the offensive scheme that we were running in no time, and I can tell anyone with him around or not around. He taught me a lot of offensive football. He taught me a lot about being a running back coach. So, my hat goes off to those guys who were very instrumental at that time in my career. And having that stop at Howard with Kerry Bailey was great. I needed to get away because, in this business, you do well and you move on and get another job, or you don't do so well and you get fired. And it was about 4 of us that got let go at Louisiana Lafayette. And I was originally going to Southern with Coach Richardson. But, the job didn't open for another couple of months. And Coach Bailey got the job at Howard, called and offered me the job. And, I'd known Coach Bailey since we were in college. So I went out and went up to Howard and worked with him for 3 years. And that was a interesting 3 years. Love being around in the city of DC. I don't know if I want to live there right now, but, because I'm just not a fan of some of the things that were going on in the city. But it was a great time, great university. Again, we'll always want to visit. I think, there were some great people at Howard when we were there. Just could not get it off the ground football-wise.
So, well, first though, before we go any further, I'm a Southern guy, so knowing that you almost kind of Southern, I kind of wish you did, because I like what you do, and just knowing, a guy like you could have moved from Southern to somewhere else would have been a nice little boost. But hey, how was your stepping stone, and it led you to Bethune-Cookman? Was there anything in particular that led you to Bethune-Cookman?
I was honestly out recruiting. I was in Dallas, matter of fact, recruiting. When I got the call to go to Bethune-Cookman, I was at Howard. I was in Dallas recruiting, and Brian Jenkins, we had worked together at Louisiana Lafayette. I was the corners coach. He was the running backs coach. But, Jenks and I had known each other for years. And he called me, and he asked me a couple of questions. He said, "Hey, man, you think we can win there?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, we just played those guys, a few weeks ago. I said, "Yeah, you can win there." And he, asked me a couple more questions. He said, "What do you think about coming with me?" And I said, "Well, we can talk about it." And just so happened, the state playoffs were coming up. All of the schools in Florida at that time, and some of them still do, they play the games in Orlando. So I flew in Orlando, checked in my hotel, drove down to Daytona, hung out on campus for a few hours with him. And I said, this, it was a warm welcome. It was, time, because both of my parents at the time were getting older, for me to get back closer to home. And, being all the way in D.C. was a little stretch. But coming back to Bethune-Cookman, Daytona was 3 hours from my parents' home. So that helped me make my decision to come back. And we had some great years there. Don't have anything bad to say about the university or anyone there. Had a great run there, 5 years as an assistant, and 8 years as a head coach. I don't have anything negative, anything bad to say about anybody there. The university was good to me, gave me an opportunity to be a head coach. So it's somewhere that I'll always hold close to my heart, because I got an opportunity there. So it was great. Had a great run, great ride there.
So during your time as an assistant at Bethune-Cookman under Coach Jenkins, you guys won multiple FBS games, won championships. What was it about the program that took that step to be able to win those games out of conference like that?
I'm gonna tell you, man. It was, we had an amazing football team, and our first team, which was probably one of the most successful teams because we went 10-0 with that team, and we ended up just losing the Classic. But didn't have a ton of talent, but we had a ton of want to and a ton of buy-in. And those guys, they just wanted to win. They worked hard. I've never been around a football team that worked as hard as those guys. So they just bought into everything that was going on there. And we had a staff full of great football coaches, and it led us to a lot of wins. When you look at it, I was four. We won 4 rings with Coach Jenkins, and I won 1 as a head coach myself. So winning was what it was around there. We didn't do anything spectacular. We just worked. We went out, we recruited. We had a ton of transfers at the time, and we had a great compliance staff that worked with us, a great administration that really supported us. And that's what you have to have if you're going to be successful in athletics anywhere. You have to have the support. You have to have people that understand what's going on and understand how to support you to give you a chance to continue to be successful.
So once, like you said, you spent time as assistant, then you became the head guy. Was that a move that you kind of wanted to make at some point to become a head coach, or was that kind of like a bit of a surprise to you?
No, not a surprise. I'd started interviewing for head jobs when I was at Texas Southern, so it was not something that just happened. I had interviewed for numerous jobs, didn't get them for one reason or another. A couple of jobs that I was offered that I didn't take because I was making the money that I need to make as an assistant, and I didn't think that some of the programs were in great shape that I had interviewed for. So it was something I always wanted to do, and I honestly, when Coach Jenkins took this job here at Alabama State, I was slated to come with him here and, talk with a couple folks on campus and our AD at the time. He asked me if I was interested in interviewing for the job. And when I tell you, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I got the job. I'm glad I had an opportunity to run that program. But it was an intense interview. It was not like a day or 2-day interview like anyone else. I interviewed for 6 days for that job.
Oh man, that's tough.
It was crazy. I thought at the time, but I understood why, because they were putting the keys to a Division I college football program in my hands, and he took me from point A to point B. I ran the program during the day, and I met him every day at between 4 and 6, and we would talk about the program for a few hours. We'd go eat, come back, talk about the program some more. And he wanted to know everything that I was going to do with that program. And with that interview, it made me a better football coach.
Yeah, I mean, you guys hit the ground running 9-2 in your first year conference championship. So, you basically, kept on moving. As fans, we see one side of a program. We typically see, what's going on Saturday. Some of us that follow a little bit closer, we hear about what's going on in practice, but what's the toughest thing about being a head coach that fans don't really know about?
I don't know. I guess, a lot of coaches say it, and it's kind of a unsaid thing sometimes, but people think that the student athletes give you a lot of headaches. They don't. I mean, they're kids. They're young men, and you expect them to do certain things. I think the hardest thing, being a head coach, is trying to figure out how to make these young people successful on and off the field. That's the main thing that I would say is the hardest thing as being, in being a head coach, because you want all of your young people in your program to be successful.
So I wanted to ask you a couple questions about recruiting. Like, is there I know there's a huge focus on the transfer portal and things like that nowadays. In previous years, before the portal really got crazy, and a lot of people really started focusing on stars and things in recruiting, Is there a big difference between recruiting like now and maybe even 10 or 15 years ago?
Listen, I honestly think it's every couple of years now, and it's about to be every year that recruiting changes. And what I mean by that is the dynamic, because if you look at it now, you have FBS schools that are coming to FCS schools recruiting guys. So you have FCS schools now that are turning into feeder programs for a lot of FBS schools. So recruiting the high school athlete, a lot of FCS programs and Division II programs, they're trying to go in now and start recruiting these guys and getting them to commit early, because a lot of the FBS schools, they're transfer portal, they're FBS to FBS transfer, they're FCS to FBS transfer. So it has changed. It used to be where all the high schools got flooded a lot. Then you got a lot of the junior colleges started being flooded. That trend came in. Now it's the portal. So, I think any program, and I love the way we do things here. We have our transfer guys, and that's junior college and 4-year school guys. But we also have a nucleus of young guys, and I think you have to have that. You have to have your nucleus of high school guys in your program to keep it going if you want to sustain success.
Yeah, so that kind of that's something we talk about a lot on our show is the transfer portal or building a team with freshmen. Is it tougher now to kind of get those kids in and keep them in order to develop them?
Yeah,
Do you think there's a big pull for the portal, like something that like some allure that draws them to it?
it's tougher, and I'm torn with it. I'm not. You never want to see a great player or a good player in your program leave, but if you have taken a kid, and I used to feel a lot different about it. You take a kid, you develop him, you get him where he needs to be athletically, mentally, physically. You have him prepared. He's you know bound, moved. I guess you say 2 years in 1 year. He has enough knowledge, enough skill to play at another level. You don't want to see him go. But, I just had a conversation with some coaches on a Zoom call this weekend. And one of the guys asked all of us, he said, we're upset with these kids about going, but if that school called you, would you leave?
That's a good point. That's a
I
good point.
mean, and you got to seriously think about it. Most coaches will say, no, no, but let's be real now. I don't like it, but I get it. I get it. Kids want to play now. I don't believe in kids just going chasing. Because if you look at the portal now, look at all the kids that are stuck in the portal, have nowhere to go. There
Yeah,
are
that's
not scholarships out there for them.
that's to me that's the biggest issue with it. To me is I don't have a problem with let's say you got something going on at home, you're further away from home, you want to get closer to home, you want to hit the portal, see what's out there for you. Or you didn't play 4 years, graduated, you want to see what's out there for you. I don't really like guys that just if the minute something doesn't go their way, they just jump in the portal, because
Correct.
that to
Correct.
me you're not guaranteed anything when you go to the next spot. It could be the same thing or worse, because a
Right.
lot of kids don't look at depth charts, they don't look at programs, so they just kind of you know, get want to get recruited again. And I think
Right.
that's to me that's the biggest problem with it. I love it as a whole, but that's the biggest issue of it to me.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And you have kids that jump out there, and you have to be careful with the transfer portal. You have to do your homework, because there are kids, and there's nothing wrong with it, but there are kids that are not scholarship guys at programs, and they'll jump in the portal. And if you don't do your research on this guy, you may think he's a guy that has been at this place playing, and you finally get a bead on him, and you see that he hadn't touched the field. So you have to do your research, and those guys, I just hate to see young men and young women leave programs, leave a scholarship, a free education, and you go somewhere else, and you're cut in a year,
Yeah,
or
that's a bit.
you're frustrated in a year because you're not playing. And again, like I said, I see both sides. I get it. Everybody wants, bigger, better, the shiny corn. They want all that stuff, but all the time when you look at it, it's football. Every day of the week when you look at it, it's football. I don't care where you are. Yeah, some of the places have more bells and whistles, bigger, brighter buildings. The tools and the instruments in the buildings, yeah, they help you prepare. But none of these big, pretty buildings have won any games. And I tell any young man and any young woman that I speak to about it, pay attention to the people that are at those universities. And I do think that's the one thing at a lot of the HBCUs. The one thing we still have on the other schools is that it's an intimate setting. It's a place where you can feel at home, a place where you're gonna get, not maybe mom and dad, but auntie and uncle and cousins, and you're gonna have a better take on what's really going on um, with you as a person and your growth.
Yeah, I agree with you. One thing that a lot of people, there's a lot of discourse on social media. People argue back and forth about facilities, and like you said, those bells and whistles, they can only do so much, um, because at the end of the day, those bells and whistles don't necessarily help you in the practice on the practice field. They don't necessarily help you in games. They don't necessarily help you in the classroom. I think they are good to draw people, but how you still, because there's teams with great facilities that don't win any games.
Right.
So that's I'm glad you brought that up because that's one thing that I wish a lot of people would not be so enamored with. I've seen teams win more with less, and
Yeah.
I think just a lot of people get caught up in that.
Yeah, a lot of people get caught up in it, and again, when you talk about young athletes, regardless of the sport, if a larger school is coming after you and they're promising you all this stuff, the kids, one, they're human, but again, they're kids, they're young people. So we have to do all we can to continue to educate them on the process and just help them with their process. A lot of times when you look at it too, it's not all the kids. A lot of times it's their parents. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. Everybody's trying to see how much money they can get. So you when you look at things like that, you have to really ask yourself: are we preparing these young people for this, and not to turn anyone against a parent or turn anyone against anybody? That's not what I'm talking about. Just saying, prepare them, arm them with the tools to help them make the best decisions that they can.
Yeah, I definitely agree that like you said, it's multiple battles that you kind of have to fight to get a kid in. On sometimes you got to go through the household or some trainer or handler or whatever. That's definitely a great point. I want to switch gears for just a second. Um, the 2020 season, was not a season for a lot of people. Some teams played in the spring of 2021. How difficult was it to run the team during that time period?
It was tough because we didn't, we couldn't see our team. Our kids were gone, so we didn't see our football team, period, for months. And we saw our football team the first time after COVID, the day before our camp opened. So we were away from our team for a calendar year, basically. I mean, it was a long period. Did we meet with them? Yes, on Zoom. We had Zoom meetings with our players. Obviously, you had guys that really we didn't have a lot of people just transfer out. We just had some guys opt out. They graduated and they didn't play anymore. They were trying to get their lives started. So we lost really entire defensive line, secondary. We had maybe two guys come back in the secondary, one on the defensive, one that started on the defensive line. Lost a bunch of folks, and that was just due to COVID. So it was tough. It was tough having the coaches that I had, and the program that we had built, and just watching where really not being able to do anything about it. So yes, that was definitely tough.
And changing conferences on top of all of that had to be a big adjustment as well, going from playing teams that you're familiar with to playing some teams that that you guys may not have played in years. How difficult was it to go from the MEAC to the SWAC?
It really wasn't, and I know I did a podcast about 3 months ago, and a guy said, "Well, Coach, you were 2-9 2 years in a row." I said, "Yeah, but." And I know a win is a win and a loss is a loss, but when you look at it, no one in the conference beat us up. We lost, a handful of games both years by, 3-4 points. It wasn't, just a beating. It wasn't really tough. I mean, football is football, and we played a SWAC team every year. When I was at Bethune, before we got in the conference, every year we played a SWAC team. So we had, I know it's not like playing a week in, week out schedule with in the conference, but it's a lot of things, and I would be the first to tell you, there's no excuse. We don't use excuses in any program that I'm a part of. We didn't get it done, and the result is what it was. We had an opportunity to win a lot of football games. Even last year, we dropped a lot of games right at the end. A lot of people may know or may not know, and it's not an excuse, but we were on the road. We couldn't go home for 4 weeks, 3 of those weeks straight because of the storm. So we lived out of a hotel for 3 straight weeks. Then we went home for a week, and we're back out on the road for 1 more week. So that part was tough. Being everybody away from their families, the players not having any type of normalcy, in their daily routine, being in unfamiliar places for so long. Guys are used to traveling a couple days and they're back. But, you find out a lot about people being out on the road that long with them, good and bad. And I think in some senses it brought our team closer together. But every night, because everywhere we stayed, we had facilities to practice and watch film, but we had to work around other teams' schedules. Because other teams, Vanderbilt, they did a great job helping us out. We practiced at their facility. We had some high schools in Chattanooga that helped us out with everything that they were doing, just to try to get us through the week that we were there. So there's a lot of people that helped us out, and again, a lot of folks know it. Maybe a lot of people don't, but it is what it is. There's no excuse. It happened the way it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, and like they say, it's nothing better than sleeping in your own bed. So kind of being out of routine always gonna kind of change the vibe for you. Like you say, you always already on the road, and you still traveling. That's tough. That's something I definitely noticed with you guys. And still to be able to fight and claw in games and not give up is a testament to the program. What is your role now at Bama State?
I am the director of football operations and chief of staff. Great role for me right now. I thought when I came in I was going to have opportunity to do some of the things I'm doing, and I'm happy. I couldn't be more pleased that just helping Coach Robinson day to day and with the day-to-day duties of running this program, and it's been great so far. Great staff, great group of young men with this program, and excellent administrative staff. Great support. People around here, they want to see everyone succeed, and they're always in the right place and doing the right things to help us move forward.
All right, Coach. One final question for you before I let you go. And like I said, I know you got a lot going on. Definitely appreciate you. What does the future hold for you? Do you think you'll be back on the sidelines?
At some point in time, I've had a few offers here and there, really all spring and summer, to get back on the field. But right now, I think this is the best place for me. If you know some ads or presidents that's hiring, put a word in for me.
I will. I will. Hey, mid-season we'll start to start to know a lot more about some jobs coming open. So,
Oh
hey, I
yeah,
definitely would love to see you back on the sideline. I know this is a nice little area for you, kind of get yourself back going. So, Coach Sims, I definitely want to thank you for joining us. I enjoyed being able to talk to you. I jumped at the opportunity when when DJ told me he might reach out to you. So I definitely thank you for joining me.
hey, anytime, man. Anytime you need me on, just give me a holler. You have my information now.
I will, and I
Always
see
me.
you. Hopefully, I see you on September 2nd. I'm coming out there for the Jaguars game, so hopefully I get to see you or at least talk to you when I get to town. So it'd be
Hey,
nice
look me
to
up, man.
meet you.
Look me
Will
up. I
do.
hope I'm still here. I hope Coach don't fire me before then.
You'll be there at least. They're not gonna let you go. All
All right, man.
right. Thank you,
Take it easy.
everybody. Thank you. You have a good day.
Uh-huh.
All right, everybody. That was Coach Terry Sims joining us, Director of Football Operations at Alabama State. Definitely appreciate him stopping by and joining us. We're gonna chop it up with him again at some point in the future. Y'all, thank y'all for tuning in, man. Like I said, we're trying to bring y'all different types of interviews. Not just the same thing all the time. So we're gonna try to do more and more things like this. We're gonna continue to bring y'all more and more stuff. We got our Gremlin preview coming tomorrow. Coming tomorrow 7 a.m. That's gonna drop 7 a.m. Wednesday morning. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. We got SWAC Smoke coming Thursday live at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And we got our Jackson State preview coming on Sunday. So y'all, if y'all got somebody y'all want me to chop it up with, man, y'all hit me up on the socials. Our Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76, and we can make that happen. Make sure y'all subscribe, man. We almost at that 1K. Help us get there. Hit that button, and it'd be much appreciated. So with that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawell signing out, and I'm up out of here, man. Y'all have a good day, and I'm gonna holler at y'all. Peace.